Hello and welcome to another Toonkind at 12 FPS. My name is Winona and today I'll be playing a Scribble Scrambles along with maybe a Scratch Scrambles. And I'm joined by the amazing and wonderful and talented.
Gosh. Hey folks, I'm Author. I'll be playing a chicken. And possibly also a god. Um, yeah, so
Yeah, so what's TOC doing today?
um today I think that they're probably let's see. They're probably on their way to the library, because they want to get a little bit of research done. And it does occur to them that they do know like a professional scholar, like they could in theory just go bother Scrambles and see whether or not, he knows anything about what they're researching. Um so I think they're heading that way anyway.
Yeah, and I'm just saying this is probably maybe a day or so at maybe at least a day after what happened in the Heart of the Soul, because Scribbles is just like, yeah, we're nipping in this in the butt right now.
Mm.
As you walk to his apartment, you get a paper plane that hits you in the chest.
They look down at it because this seems like the sort of thing that happens in Einquell. It's never happened to them before, but like fuck, why not? Um
And if you open it, it's a little invitation from Scribbles, actually, inviting you to tea at his apartment.
mm. Is this the normal way to get an invite from Scribbles?
I mean,
Like has this happened before?
uh, it probably has happened before. Like if Scribbles just want to hang out with TOC, but they don't know what they're doing. He has been keeping a stockpile of loyal paper airplanes to like buy on the regular because he's a tutorer too. So to get in contact with his like students right away, he's been using those as a part of his business.
Me, an actual tutor. I would actually love to be able to just fling pieces of paper and get people to show up on time.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, they see no reason to suspect that anything other than what the invitation says is going on. They will mosey on over.
Yep. You mosey on over to his apartment,
Yep,
and and do you knock on the door?
yep. Uh, they just go with their little beak.
And you see the door open and it seems to be blank for a moment, but then you notice it's just Scratch who opened the door.
Mm.
And they wave hi and they sign, "Come on in."
They sign a sign language hello, and they follow, very careful not to step on the boy.
Yes. Yeah, and Scribble is in the kitchen at making the tea. He's like, "Oh, I didn't expect you right away, but it's good. Just have a seat at the table."
All right. They go and they hop up on a chair, and they can't see shit, so they hop up on the table.
Do
Um,
you want to make a perception check?
sure. +27.
Oh, yeah. Dang, you have a +10?
The
Wow.
chicken is broken.
The chicken is broken. And you say make an insight with advantage then.
Sure.
Oh
25.
yeah. Everything.
Again, the chicken is broken.
The chicken is broken. I love this chicken though. But yeah, as you go like hop up on the table and everything, Scratch has flown off somewhere else in the apartment. He's actually gone to the library as Scribbles is in the kitchen making the tea, and you notice something like insight grandparent like parental knowledge as his his body language is very stiff. His hair, now that you sort of now looked at him, is his turned slightly spiky. And you sort of realize, oh no, this is not a casual come have tea because we're friends. Oh no, this is a we have to talk sort of tea.
Oh, Jesus. For a second, they sort of like, oh, maybe he's going through a goth phase. Yeah, that's not happening. Okay. And they flash back to Oth's apology, where they showed up at uh Nebula's place and was like, "Oh, you're angry. I have no idea why, but you sure are angry." I think they're just going to sort of quietly sit, um, and run through all the things that they could have possibly done to Scribbles.
uh, so how have you been doing?
Uh, TFC does not take the small talk. They are looking at him extremely warily. Actually, roll an insight on the chicken.
Mm-hmm. See
And
what
you can decide whether or not, because he's angry, it would be a disadvantage.
it's not like anger. This is sort of like a calm anger. Like, the parental, I'm very disappointed in you anger.
They know that extremely well.
It's a 15.
15. Yeah, the, the chicken has no goddamn idea what's happening. Um, they do not know why they are being faced with this anger. They recognize it. Um, they assume something serious is going on and it's apparently their fault, and they're just sort of waiting to figure out, what they broke.
Scribbles notices and recognizes this. And as he finishes up making the tea, and there's also a little plate of lavender cookies right on it, and he goes to the table and sits it down, and he sits down with TSA. He's like, I see. I guess us parents, well, we have a third sense for these things. So I will get
Your
that.
hair looks like a hedgehog.
Scribble sighs. Unfortunately, that's just a quirk of my design. But yes. So I'm just curious. When were you gonna tell me about Marigold?
TOC goes through all the different ways they can interpret that sentence. Like, she's a 7 foot tall centaur. She's 15 years old. She's very
That's not.
lovely.
You
Are
know
you
what I'm
looking for
meaning.
something? Say again?
Scribble sighs.
Mm.
When were you gonna tell me about the gods? And how she is currently in a metal body that is sucking the life force out of her, and the only reason why she's alive is because this so-called dead god is helping her. And his voice is like slowly raising as his hair gets even more spiky.
TOC, blink, blink, blink. It's what? And
There's
like it actually, hang on, I'm going to roll a wisdom saving throw to see if they can steer themselves back on track after that, because there was some new information in there. Their wisdom saving throw is 9. They Yeah, they are. There's a tremble to them that there wasn't before. They look honestly horrified.
You, jeez. He sort of relaxes a tiny bit. His hair goes slightly down. It's still spiky. This, do you even know that? What do you know about this? About her god being in, to put it lightly, trouble, and then she told me that she talked to the dead god for their help.
They, I mean, they like their wings are very shaky as they sign. I mean, Grove was. I was the one they approached. I was the one who told the dead god to approach Marigold. She didn't tell you any of this. Can we go back to the part where her body is killing her?
Scribbles sighs. You're approached by the god. Okay. Yes, I thought you would know, but the body that she's currently in is usually is it's usually by the way it has been designed from what I saw from her memories that it runs on soul power, and because of the Grove Mother protecting him by instead using their magic to fuel it instead of her soul, has been protecting her soul in the process.
They they nod sort of hollowly. They they said that they were on the run and they needed a proxy. They needed another source. And the dead god is someone from my past. They are suited uniquely to be a temporary measure for these sorts of things. I This is the first I'm hearing that that's not working.
No, you're wrong. It is working. The dead god has helped them. That's the thing. But, like you said, this is just temporary. If the dead god quits their contract or whatever deal they made with Marigold, she will die.
The dead god isn't going to do that.
How do you know? Gods are sometimes fickle beings.
I completely agree. But this is someone that I have known for almost my entire life.
Then tell me more about this dead god, because I'm not reassured.
Do you want to meet them?
Scribbles blinks at that. He's like, what?
TAC shrugs like, I don't know, man. They're around. I mean, they. I spoke with Scratch a little bit about this, but they are in many ways my informal patron as well as hers. Um, they are the reason that I am not a regular farm animal anymore.
I see.
They they are a god of long periods of time, of slow processes and transitions and endings. And when it came time to them to reach their own ending, or so they say, they They found me and they struck a deal. And for whatever reason, their end did not come, and so we are all just sort of stuck in this farce.
I
But they
see.
have been reliable enough for me. Please do me the courtesy of believing that I would find someone trustworthy for Marigold to rely on. I'm not going to give my child, my first child since the one I lost, to a stranger, a demon that I thought that would take advantage of her.
First child. You lost. Since you lost, what happened to your other child?
They shrug and they look very tired.
Mm,
I the girl who took care of me and my flock could not rely on her family, so my last wish as I died, the wish that the dead god heard, was to be able to be her family. But they are the god of long periods of time,
I see.
and she might be fine. She might be better than the last time I saw her. Or she might be on the other side of the world. I don't know. But I have lost far too much Scribble Scrambles to be cavalier about what I still have.
I,
I understand that you're angry, and I don't begrudge you that, but cut me a little slack.
well, she's my daughter too, and of course, I'd be very careful about gods and how they connect to them. I have known of a god. I have not talked to them directly. I know a friend who is a cleric of one called the Plot. And the plot works in strange, sometimes great, sometimes terrible ways. So please cut me a little slack to say that I am not worried about my own child myself.
I never said that you weren't.
Though I'm more concerned that you didn't tell me about this right away. Do you know what the gravitation of this situation is? A person, someone who has the money, power, and resources to take down a god. You wouldn't think that is something that probably needs to be told about right away?
They start to, like, very vehemently sign something, and then they stop, because actually saying it out loud sounds kind of dumb. And then it's like, I honestly thought that she told you.
Maybe she was. No, she didn't. Not directly. It. It was very strange. I actually maybe when she originally was coming over because when I saw her last, she was in my apartment when the day that happened, and maybe she was going to tell me. But Scratch had other ideas and he was a bit curious. Now his hair is less like pointy, but he's just like, yeah, something did happen.
Yet TOC, like, their eyes are not wavering from him for a second. They're just waiting. Because they have not been told.
All right. So Marigold was sitting on the balcony getting some sun for her plants inside of her. So she had her mouth open and everything, and Scratch was wanting to wait with her while I did some studying in the library. I also say I was still doing some, well, research about him and stuff, but that's not important right now. But so Scratch got curious and he went inside Marigold.
TOC has their little head in their wings.
Yeah, everything was fun and dandy for the first couple minutes when he found the little knickknacks and, of course, the marigold flowers that were inside of her. What happened next is he found the device that held her soul. And Scribbles is just gonna wait to see if there's any reaction for a second.
Yet, actually, hang on.
I
15. Okay, they're calm. They're calm with a 15. Like you can see like shock and horror and dismay slowly like they know where this is going. They know it's nowhere good. Like they're just like, "Oh, what happened to our kids?"
Yeah, and Scribble slowly continues, and Scratch. Well, I. He's probably told you similar things, but Scratch is a being of pure magic, but also has a soul of his own. And so, basically, what happened was one soul touching another. And he's sort of silent again.
They their wings are trembling a lot when they sign. She has not told me any of this. She hasn't. This is just like the time I had to finagle the fact that she got shot out of her.
Wait, what? She got shot?
She
And
didn't tell you she got shot.
yeah, and Scribble's hair is standing straight up, more like it, those cartoon like surprise slash scare moments.
Mm. Yeah, she's. They're like, yup, mm-hmm. It. I had a long talk with her about not keeping that sort of thing from me, but
I mean, from
apparently it
any
was.
of us. I mean, no one. Like, what happened?
Well, apparently she was chasing someone and they had a gun. Happily, it was apparently like shooting a garbage can, but
I
the
mean,
point is not that she was fine. The point is that she got shot in the first place and didn't feel the need to come to us about it.
I agree there. I mean, even like, was this an adventurer party sort of deal, or was this just like out in normality sort of sense, as you think?
They showed something about a knitting party and robberies, and they're like, I I am the wrong person to ask about the particulars, but
There,
I she was on her own for so long. I can sympathize that it's hard to remember to tell people things that they need in order to take care of you.
yes,
But we need to teach her this.
I agree. If she even decides to be a more of an adventurer, like that does psychological damage. Like even some of the more braver adventurers do go to psychiatrists because things like that happen. People get shot, people get hurt, people get mentally scarred, along with physically scarred at sometimes. But that's not the problem. We need a teacher that she needs to reach out more.
Mm. Man, roll an insight on the chicken.
All right. Nice. 17.
They they're so fucking tired of the people they love not telling them shit, not letting them know how to help, not like multiple people now have pulled this shit and they're exhausted. But they they will deal with that on their own time. They look up at Scribbles and they go, first, we need to get better about communicating with one another because if she's not going to, then we need to take up the slack.
I agree
It was
there.
honestly, I feel extremely dumb for expecting a 15-year-old to relate relate medical information like this to not one but two parents when she has never had parents before.
I'm almost afraid to ask. Did she even tell Nebula, or do you even know if she told Nebula?
They put their head back in their wings. Okay. Okay. First first let's see. He definitely knows that she got shot because they were Rosebud at the time. There did he
Rosebud.
she told you about the fusion, correct?
Scribbles looked at him and a look. He's like, no fusion.
She didn't tell you about either fusion.
Either fusion. There's more than one.
It, God. PUC relate to the events of Potted Problems, wherein they found a skeleton centaur on their roof with a potted with a flower pot on its head. And then they relate the experience of being Black Rose, which was a fusion between them, Nebula, and Marigold, which was a skeleton griffin
Yeah,
with a sun hat.
yeah. There's prayer hands as Scribbles is being related about all this.
Mm.
He's like, so how did the original two fuse?
It They said an artifact from Nebula's work.
Okay.
He
It,
he would be able to tell you more.
okay, so it's from his work. I trust Nebula to be safe with magical objects and stuff. He's a researcher like me. He wouldn't put
Do
anyone.
you?
I mean, I have to if Marigold is really trusting him too.
TOC has strong opinions about this man's ability to keep safety things in perspective, but they will let that pass.
But I should probably get back to the fact if we're going to be more open about Marigold and everything that's happened. Tell you what happened after Scratch touched her soul, because I'm not very sure if Scratch told you this, but Scratch and I have a soul bond in between each other. We're soulmates, as it were.
They nod like yes, yes, seems cool.
So when he touched her soul, it also affected me and my soul. So what happened next is I, to keep things somewhat simple, like we saw each other's memories. And Scratch in particular saw Marigold as her true self. As he's gonna pull out something. Okay, yeah, it's not a thimble. He takes out a green notebook. It's not one of those notebooks, but it's like this file. It looks like a book, but it's blank. But
Mm.
inside is just you see some notes about what Marigold has gone through, about her body because and stuff, but also a picture of the I say of what Marigold originally looks like. Now, I'm not very sure if you've seen that picture just yet, and I'm not very sure if I have it on hand.
TOC looks at it for a long time and holds it close to their chest, just like breathe in, breathe out, because oh, this girl has been through so fucking much.
I'm gonna see if I can. Do I have it on my laptop? Maybe. Maybe. Give me 1 second to double check stuff.
I gently pat you, no worries.
Ah, I do. Sweet. Give me 1 second.
Nope.
Yeah, you see a picture of this.
A child.
A child.
Yeah, TOC is just oh god, that's really young. That is extremely young. That's a baby.
That's indeed baby. And
Mm.
Scribbles like takes a deep breath in and out. I saw how she lived out in the forest. I don't know. I could guess that she's a maybe a dryad or a sprite of some kind by the way she looked, but she never really told me exactly what she was before. But she was definitely a toon before she became well what she is now.
Mm.
However, things happened and her forest caught on fire. And she technically died.
TOC nods like, yeah, so haven't we all? This much at least Grove relayed to me.
Okay, so they did relate that to you. Okay. And did they tell you that the person who basically they took their souls and put them into machines?
Grove, she said that the amusement park that was built over the site took advantage of their souls for fuel, but the idea that it was on purpose, that was why Liar Granger did, they have to take another common breath because that this is, they are eternally livid about this. That is new. The idea that they were constructed to be,
I mean, it
they
makes
can't bring themselves to sign the word slaves.
Scribbles like sees this not. I mean, to power machines that make sense, and with so many different souls living in the forest, most likely at the time, they probably had to be separated in some kind. But for what I saw within her, it was very shoddily. Like they did not put a care in the world about what they were doing to the soul. They were gonna he like his hair is back to angry spikes.
Hmm. Yet TOC is no help, but like they are. Earlier they were shaking with shock, now they are shaking with rage.
You mentioned the name, Liar Granger. You said
Liar Granger.
Scribbles nods as he turns to a new page, and I am pretty sure I don't have this picture, but I was actually shown a picture of basically his trademark. It's a G. It's a fancy G. This is.
Mm.
I saw this inside her body. I'm guessing this is his trade. His or I don't know. His her trademark.
Yeah, TOC is very quiet. They're not signing anything. They're staring at the notebook. And I think they sign, that's the one who nearly killed the god. That's the one that should should they know that Marigold is here, will be gunning for our child.
And again, I'm mad that you didn't think about telling any of us, me or Nebula. Did you tell Nebula about this?
They sigh and they shake their head.
And he does sort of like that bridging the forehead the forehead in between what would be where his nose would be. Do you not? You just said they almost killed a god. Did you? Do you not understand? Like that is a powerful person to not only figure out how to do it, but then make it happen. This person is dangerous. And I've been trying, like, it's the reason why I wanted to tell you, like, this happened only a day or so ago to me and Scratch. I felt like you didn't, again, you didn't think of telling us?
When the Grove Mother came to me, the one and only person I thought of telling was Marigold, because it is their life, and it is her danger, and it is her battle that we are all beginning to wage. Because I honestly, and I mean this sincerely, Scrambles, thought that she would not hesitate to go to you, to Nebula. I went to her because she deserved to know, because I knew before her. How could I do anything but give her more agency? That's what she needs, is control over her fate.
But she's only 15 years old. She. I mean, agency is all well and good, but in the case of a person who can strike down a god, there has to be a case where we need to know about this as soon as possible. Cause
There's no apology I can give except to say that I will not make this mistake again.
Scribbles nods. I'm guessing that's all I can ask. He sighs. I. She is not happy right now. She doesn't want to be in her body, but that is a realm of expertise in machinery and magic that is to an artificer level that I have no idea how we would be able to even undo that. Though, on another hand, I know someone who has an information network that we can at least get an idea of where this liar grandeur may be and possibly keep an eye on them.
Yeah. TUC size. I mean, I can. My first thought is to go directly to Wilted Wonders, but it could also bring to Juniper. Roll an insight check when they say the name Juniper.
All right.
But they go on. She is ingenious. She is someone that I trust implicitly. 14. Yeah, it's actually roll again. Now that you've calmed down a little bit, I think that you've known this chicken long enough.
Ooh, that's a nat
Nat 20.
20.
A nat 20, like their entire like personhood, like everything, like their posture, their expression, the tone with which they're signing, it's a thing, really. Everything just sort of like softens when they say the name Juniper. Like this is a great friend. This is someone that they, trust and feel they can rely on. And also someone they have a crush on.
Daw. Scribbles smiles and doesn't make a comment on that last part for right now, because that ain't the time for that.
Mm,
But he's like, alright. I feel like that would be a good idea to see maybe how complex of a problem this is, which it probably is, but it's good to have a second opinion about that.
mm,
And if she does not have the resources to fix this, even though she knows exactly what to do, I maybe know someone else who could possibly get get be able to get what we need.
mm,
But the person I'm thinking of for right now, keeping an eye on Granger, if she can do that. She originally came back from a hard case, which she then moved somewhere else. I don't know where she is right now, but her name is Little Lynn Stagehand. She is similar to me, who has actually she's one. She's he smiles like she has a genius loci, and they are also soul bonded together, and that's how I was able to say she was able we were able both to figure out how to me soul bond to Scratch. I trust her with my life and Scratch, and she is a wonderful detective from what I've been seeing, and she has a vast network of people that even if maybe she can't help, I I trust her opinion in relying on someone else to take up this case.
mm. If you trust her, that's good enough for me. And Scribbles, what say you to you and I and Nebula all meeting up for tea at least once a week? Because I I take the blame, but we have all been remiss in communicating with each other. If she is only going to give each of us what little information she absolutely has to, then we need to be coordinating and sharing with each other.
Scribbles nods. I agree. I feel like that would be the best course of action for right now, because this is something that I don't care if she thinks she can handle it. I've the way she can't handle this alone. Not
They
what
nod.
not with what we're up against. Even with as few of information that we have in between the three of us, you should never take someone down lightly that who can also take down a god.
QC starts to sign something, and they kind of pause, and they go, Scribbles, you should also know. I've died once, and I don't mind doing it again.
You shouldn't have to die again.
No, listen, because there is no reality where she falls to liar grandeur. There is no there's no ending where that happens. Not while I still draw breath. And if I'm gone, I need to know that she's going to be okay. I
Well,
need to know that you're going to take care of her, please.
Scribble is quiet for a moment. He's like, "Of course I'll take care of her, but we're gonna get through this together. I'm not gonna let you die too."
They look pensive because they have actually a laundry list of insurmountable forces that they would throw themselves against in a blaze of glory. That is actually kind of hard to pick which one. Um, but at this point, they're just balance of large numbers. It's good to have this talk. It's good to know that. Well, anyways,
Mhm. Yeah,
um,
and Scribble said, "Don't die for her. Live for her."
I told the Grove Mother much the same thing. Dying is easy. It's living that kills you.
And as someone who fucked up royally in their past, I agree. Living does kill you, but I have found that the pain that at least I went through, it's been worth it. I came out stronger in the end,
Mm.
and I've made mistakes, plethora of mistakes, but I have learned from them, and I'm trying to move on. And I wouldn't want to be in a world without any of you.
Mm. I give him sort of a nod of acknowledgement. I don't think they'll ask about that too much. I don't feel like they really don't feel like they have the right to right now.
Mhm.
Instead, I think there's a little short pause, and then they go, "Want to come meet a god?"
I mean, all right. I don't. How do you like? Is there a shrine near Toontown, or he is?
No, they do wellness checks. It's actually they're harder to get rid of than they are to summon. Um, I think is there any sort of like heavy disposable object in the like something handheld that can be thrown?
Uh, there's the book that he's holding, but that's it. There. I mean, unless they want to throw a teacup or a teapot with hot tea in it.
I mean, no, those are all things that he's meant. They're gonna look around like if there's like a compost or like a recycling bin,
Oh yeah,
you know,
there's a trash and recycling bin.
okay, they get like a smallish cardboard box out of the recycling.
Mhm.
And they go over and they open the window
Uh
and they
huh.
wait and they wait and they toss it and you hear very distantly, ow, why? And they through the window they sign, get your butt in here, we need you. And they they take their seat back on the table and they go, they'll be right up.
Uh, okay. As Scratch actually comes back in the room and sits on the table now.
Mm. Yeah, TOC is going to sort of like they shuffle to the side and like sweet Scratch under a wing, just sort of like to hold because it's the boy. They love the boy.
Yeah, and Scratch, like, you can hear this as he talks to Scribbles, like, Dad, you also forgot I can technically power magical machines now. And Scribbles is like, oh yeah. Because of that whole soul touching with Marigold thing, it feels like Scratch. We also learned that Scratch's magic also can power magical machines, which we actually were able to give Marigold the sense of touch for like an hour or two.
Hmm. TSC is going to say something to that. Um, and then there's a knock on the door.
And Scribbles goes over and opens the door.
Hmm. What's someone's from Scrambles past? Can be anyone.
Do I want to be serious or do I really want to be jokey?
It's up to you, my dude.
Like, is this a person that he's fond of, or is it someone who is like he may have a bad relationship with, but like
It can honestly, it can be anyone. It can be someone that he talked to for 10 minutes, or it can be a lifelong friend. There's really no limitations.
how much angst do you want for this FPS?
It is. I will put it in your hands because this is going to affect Scrambles' first impression of the dead god. I will say that they are probably going to try their best foot forward here, but they very famously have fucked that up in the past.
Okay. If he's they're gonna try to put their best foot forward, you see this dear UPAN Toon, and I do have a picture of him. He's in my NPCs. Actually, no. He's gonna go with not the deer one. He's gonna go with someone new if they're gonna try to put their first foot forward but be somewhat serious. You see this you see this Frankenalley dog tune wearing is a actually Comet made this. It's wearing a little a skirt that has planets and stars on it, and she's a husky and everything, and he's just
Mm.
and he like blinks and does a double take. It's like Professor Crystal. Oh, what are you? How did? What are you doing here?
Well, it's not quite because, and the longer that Scribbles hears this individual, the more, you know, like it's not a disguise so much as it is like it sort of looks like an off color version of this. Like, um, the stars and planets on the skirt are the wrong sort of shade, and the sleeves are a little bit too long, and um the the coloration of the fur is just sort of slightly off. Like it's not so much someone impersonating her as much as it is just sort of this is a face from Scribble's past that someone has taken and imperfectly borrowed. And they look down, I assume, at
Yeah.
Scrambles, and they go, Professor Scrambles, I've heard much about you. It's an honor. Hello, chicken. You're an embarrassment to society. And to see, covers scratches eyes with one wing and flips them off with the other.
Uh, I mean, they. He looks extremely confused.
Mm. They sort of survey the room like, may I come in?
Of course, as he lets them in the apartment.
Mm. Yeah, they like there's a moment where like um they and TOC sort of make eye contact, and no insight check necessary. They're both sort of like, bitch.
Yeah.
Um, they will they will return the cardboard box to the recycling.
uh, yeah, and Scribbles closes the door. He's like, I, uh, come again, please. I mean, you look like my professor, but you don't sound like my professor. Uh,
They look down and they blink and they go, "Oh, apologies." And they between one blink and the next, they look like I'm gonna say that they look like Hickory. If Scribbles has met Hickory,
yeah, they met Hickory.
but it's sort of like the fur is the wrong shade again. Like the design is just sort of slightly off. Like it again to someone who knows both of these individuals well. It's not a good like disguise. It's just sort of like copying someone else's style.
Uh, what? And he like jumps a bit and sort of scratch a little bit. Yeah. Uh. So he looks at it in the recycling and then looks back and he's like, "You're the dead god?"
That is I, yes. I was told, and they look at TAC like, if you called me up into an awkward situation for nothing, I'm going to kill you. Um, and they continue. I was told there was a matter that needed discussing.
I mean, yes, there is. And I do want to say that I am flattered that you call me professor, but I definitely have not earned that title just yet. I'm still technically a student, as he then invites them over to the table where there's tea and lavender cookies.
Hmm. They do not take any tea or any cookies. They do take a seat, however, and uh, sort of in between addressing Scribbles very politely, they and TOC are exchanging sort of baleful looks.
Scribbles sits down and looks in between the two and sort of leans more to then learn, sort of leans a little bit more to Tio. He's like, you're not helping your case right now. Neither you
T-
are.
TOC looks like what? What? They're just sitting here. What?
I know. Say, trust me when I know the resting bitch face to another person.
TOC is just like, um, I these the eyebrows are the eyebrows. This is just what I look like. And the dead god chimes in, yes, they are very ugly. They go, shut up, you literally designed me. And they both start looking at each other like, oh, alright, he might have a point.
Well, he then sort of tries to relax a little bit more, takes even a cup of his tea and sips it to try to reset himself.
Mm, I
So,
think
sorry, you go?
I'll go on.
No, no, no,
You go.
no, you go.
Well, if the silence was going to stretch on for long enough, the dead god would be, is this a matter concerning Marigold?
And Scribbles nods that. Yes, this. It's more of me not knowing about you, one, existing, and two, helping my daughter without me knowing and making a pact with her.
They they look at TAC like, oh, you fucked up big time, huh? And TAC gives them a look like, please focus. Um, And they go, well, I am afraid I was something of a latecomer to the conversation, but I was told it was urgent, and I was told she needed a patron.
Yes. Unfortunately, she needed a patron to basically keep herself alive. And I understand that from what I've seen through her memories, but I'm still more curious about you yourself because I haven't dealt with gods directly, but if you have only heard the plot, you know that some of them can, and especially him in particular, can go out on a whim if wished.
Mm. They sort of spread their hands, and they flicker and they look like, um actually, how long has Scribble Scrambles looked? How long has he sort of been in the academic world?
He's been in the academic world ever since he was pretty much a kid, teenager to be exact,
Mm.
really.
Okay, then roll a history check.
All right, nice.
Okay, a 19. Yeah, okay. So, like, how many years ago exactly? Or not exactly, but give me a ballpark estimate. Give me a number.
He's 28 years old, so ever since he was maybe around 12 or 13, when he's just like starting to really like he got scratched when he was about 10, but he was able to like really start doing more academic stuff in middle school where they had the honors classes and everything and stuff.
In that case, they the person that they turn into next um is familiar but only in like pictures.
Mhm.
It's this was a disgraced professor, Professor Moss, who, like, there's all sorts of stories about why, she was ousted. Like,
Mhm.
she was something about plagiarism, something about theft, something of like,
Mhm.
there is, maybe she ran away and got engaged with a queen. Um, but you've seen this person, you've seen her in photos and portraits of, like, past classes, probably in the textbooks of a lot of, um like ancient cursed artifacts and Faruman ancient histories
Mhm.
and things like that.
Yeah, yeah.
She at one point she was big.
Mhm.
And it's not precisely her again. It's the same sort of like off-brand version. But it looks a lot like Professor Moss.
Yeah.
And the Professor Moss facsimile sort of just places its hands in its lap and just goes, well, I am an open book, if you'll forgive the pun. Ask me what you will.
Well, you TFC mentioned that you were about to die, but then made a pact with them. Why? Why?
Hmm. They. Hmm. They hesitate, and their eyes flick over to TSC. He was just sort of like, yeah, I'm here, I guess. And they go, I do not think it is such a strange thing to have pity on a dying chicken in the middle of the woods.
I mean, you that say you can't say that. Someone probably would take pity at that, but usually those people aren't gods. What did you have to gain from them by making a pact when you yourself were not probably up to, well, full health?
No, my demise was not one of sickness. It was simply time for the end.
And yet we
But
and yet you're still standing here.
mm, yet, they exchange glances with TOC and they sign, or they say, "I, unfortunately, very unfortunately, a god's life is not so easily snuffed out as one may hope. But ongoing projects that have admittedly been put on hold until Marigold is no longer dependent on me. When I was a young being, I was very fond of granting wishes. There's always a price, but there are rules and stipulations that can keep them payable, can keep them easily granted. And I miss that. I thought that it would make a fitting end, that my life should end as another's began, a transitional ending. Those were always my favorites. But one might say things spiraled.
Mm.
You can roll insight if you want, by the way.
Yeah, he's going to.
Mm,
Dang, Scribbles.
19. All right, it's two things strike you. One is that this person is honest in a way that seems almost stilted, like they're sort of being forced to being honest.
Mhm.
The second is that like they seem calm. They seem like they don't seem offended by this line of questioning. They don't seem, like they don't expect it. Like this is a perfectly normal conversation to have to them.
Mhm.
But they appear to be telling as close to the truth as you uh could expect someone to.
I see. So, what price are you gonna make Marigold pay then?
They look at TOC and TOC like crosses their arms and nods. And they go, "No price from her."
He then Scribbles then looks at TOC. Then what is the price?
There is very little that I require. Some silence, a certain amount of discretion, peace when I can get it. At some point, how can I put this? I have taken up this task as a favor to the chicken.
A
One
fee.
day, I will think of a favor to ask them, and they will do their best to grant it.
I see. A favor. That's a is a. He looks at TOC. That
Mm,
that could be a say. That's a pretty steep price.
TUC shrugs. They're more harmless than they're good at coming across as.
Yeah, you could say if if the chicken wants to make an insight, they can.
Sure. That's a nat one.
They get nothing, but the god would definitely see the concern on Scribbles' face because he's just like, he's read about gods, he's read about fate packs, he's read about everything under the sun, and say that you'll do a favor for them for another favor is a steep price when you don't know, when there has been no like parameters of what that favor is.
Yeah, it's I will say with that 19 earlier, it's they don't seem like good at this, either of them. Like the god too does not seem good at being like putting out like a contract and like having that be well defined. Like it's you hesitate to use the word amateurish, but
Mm-hmm.
it's sort of those vibes.
Yeah, which makes even Scribbles a little bit more concerned.
Yup.
He's just like, oh dear God, this is. I'd rather I'd rather take a deal with the plot than maybe a deal with this guy because they don't know what they're doing. And
Mm.
that's scary. Not knowing is scary.
Yeah, it's I think that they lean forward a little bit, and they go, I am fond of her. They are a good child. They do not deserve to be caught in the schemes of the Grove Mother or Grandeur or anyone else. That is why I am doing this.
Scribbles does relax when the god says that, and there's like,
Mm.
well, I can at least agree with you there. They do not deserve any of this.
Mm. So few people do. And you do not deserve more worry on top of the stress of having a child be hunted. What reparations may I make to persuade you that I am not a danger to Marigold?
Well, you coming here to see me is a pretty good start.
Mm. They like look at the chicken, and the chicken looks back like, "Yeah, bitch." Um,
Most gods are not called upon so willy nilly, as they say.
one may consider me retired. I have no more followers. I have no visage to be worshipped. My temples are derelict.
Mm.
As I said, I am prepared for my own choices.
I see.
But in the meantime, those choices may not come to pass while there is one more person relying on me. So, and I think they pull a a little square of paper, a little calling card out of a pocket, and they hand it to Scrambles.
Alright, he takes it and looks at it.
Mm. No words. Just there's the image of a wilted flower. One too wilted to tell what it originally was.
Hmm. Is this a calling card of yours?
Of a sort, a token, if you will.
Huh. I see. As he looks at the card and flips it over and stuff.
Mm. Can you roll a perception check?
Yes, I can. Dang.
I'll, honestly, it actually hang on, because if anyone's gonna fuck it up, it's gonna be the chicken. Yeah. Um. Out of the corner of your eye, you can see TFC like while you're looking down, signing at the dead god and just being like, "We are so fucking bad at this. Why are you like this?" And they're just like, "I don't. You were the you, you threw a cardboard box at me." Like they're like it's sort of that like the parent is turned around, so the siblings are back to bickering. And
Yeah.
as soon as he looks up, they're both like hands in their laps, perfectly okay. Scratch, by the way, has seen all of this.
Yeah, Scratch looks like you can hear a little chuckle
Hmm.
from Scratch. But Scribbles puts the card away in his hammer space. I see. I don't, like I said, I don't dislike gods. I also know that some of them can be dangerous. But if the, if Talk can trust you for this task, I will lend my hand out in a peace treat in a sign of peace
Mm.
to trust you that you can keep Marigold well.
Mm. Yeah, like while you were speaking, TOC sort of made it a little face like, yeah, I don't I dislike gods. It's okay to dislike gods. Um and when you said that gods can't be trusted, the dead god like nodded their head like, yeah, that's they really can't. Um and when you say that he's going off TOC's trust in them, uh the dead god looks at the chicken and the chicken looks very surly. Um, but they stand up from their chair and they bow to you, Scribbles, and they go, "I understand the gravity of the trust of a parent. Thank you."
You're welcome. Just don't make me regret it. That's all I can ask.
Hmm. They nod.
Do you want any tea or cookies for the road? Or now it's time for Scribbles to be a little bit awkward. He's like, how does one have a god as their guest?
Uh, you look down at like the T to like sort of indicate it, and when you look up, they're gone.
He gives a little slight nod to himself. Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah, you can roll insight on that. You can tell whether or not you're trying to be Batman. 17. Like for some reason, you get the feeling that it's less that they're like trying to be spooky, mysterious, and more that they're just allergic to like awkwardness.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like TOC is still on the table, and they're just like they look like they might be nursing a headache.
I almost want to make a little joke myself because I got another god that would love this.
I mean, go for it, my dude.
Everyone then hears like the crunching of popcorn like from the other side of the room, and everyone turns to see this being that is a mishmash of different creatures, and he is I'll get a picture of him, and he's just like floating in the midair, like almost like lounging on an invisible couch, just eating popcorn. It's like, well, that was some fun chaos. I have to say so much awkwardness around.
Uh, TUC is going to flip the god off like we have reached the limit for today. Goodbye.
Well, you did not have to be so rude about it. Fine, I'll take my leave. As he then disappears in a poof of confetti. But then poops again back into reality right next to the cookies and tea. And I'll be taking some of these too. I mean, come on, I'm your guest for cries. He just takes the tea and cookies with him as he poops off in a thing of sparkles.
Yeah, TAC will turn to Scribbles and go, "You may have an infestation."
Yeah, Scribbles is open mouth and closed and open mouth, and he just sighs. He like places his head in his hands.
Honestly, is that what we want to call it?
Yes, indeed. I think that's a perfect place to call it.
God. Thank you all so much for listening, folks.
Thank you so much. And also, if anyone was curious, that was my god, Chaos. Chaos joined for like 1 second.
Did someone say chaos?
Indeed.
Anyways.
Alright. Everyone, have a good night, good day, good evening, whatever time zone it is. Bye.
Boy.